What was interesting about the May sales was that we did not get estate material. We had to put a sale together that was really built from one lot after the other. And clearly, we needed to find masterpieces because the November sale had told us that if you found a masterpiece, it would be rewarded with a great result. Ultimately, it was one of the most successful sales of contemporary art we ever had because it so far exceeded the low and the high estimate. You see, Sotheby's has a reputation to break boundaries. That's what we're good at.
Which leads us to tonight's cover lot. Andy Warhol's self-portrait from 1986. Showing on my right. And I start the bidding here at $8 million. At $8 million is bid. $15 million already at 15. $18 million is bid at 18. $19 million, $20 million is bid at 20 in the room already.
Our whole goal with marketing the Warhol was to peg it onto the disaster painting market by Andy, like the green car crash that sold for $72 million.
It was a perfect, magnificent painting. I call the painting the monster because it felt overwhelming, like only great art can feel.
At $29 million. Thank you.
There's only one left in private hands now, and I think it will be in the future seen as a very, very intelligent purchase. The Mark Rothko painting, people didn't really know where the market for this work would be. We were able to convince the consignor to take the gamble with us and go in at an estimate of $18 to $25 million. But we needed to make sure that we would have the global participation and the global competition that we wanted. Once people saw the object and saw the quality, it became very, very clear that this was a painting to pursue very, very aggressively. The bidding, like for the Warhol, was global, but it was a combination of very seasoned collectors that knew what they were pursuing and new money that was coming into the market for the first time.
The boom years went by Catalan's work because he decided between 2006 and 2009 to make very little work. So we thought it would be very interesting now to go after one of his major pieces. We as an auction house are willing to commit a big amount of space and a big amount of time to a specific installation of a specific work just to present it in a way it should be presented. And the success, I think, speaks for itself. We established a new auction record for Maurizio Catalan.
I think the sale had a great nucleus of minimal and conceptual art. We do try to curate the sales because it builds an interest level and you get this crossover. But basically, the sort of minimalist section of our sale started with this Richard Serra corner prop from the Midwest collection. A domestic-sized sculpture is pretty rare, and this sculpture, satisfied a handful of collectors' interest in Richard's sculpture that, frankly, don't have a garden setting or whatever. They could just put this into their home very easily. So it really worked out well, and based upon that, we got some other consignments. A marvelous Richard Tuttle sculpture. And this sculpture soared above estimate. It was estimated $400,000-$600,000 and sold for over $1.5 million. And it had a huge amount of interest. There were several people bidding on it. We then had this marvelous Agnes Martin painting in the exhibition called Kyrie. And this picture, which was all of 10 by 10 inches, really was not the most valuable, but probably the most popular painting in the auction. It was extremely rare. Not only was it a great painting, it had this sort of almost sculptural, marvelous object quality about it also. It was estimated $600,000-$800,000 and doubled its estimate in moments. Although we're dealing with great artists who had great careers for really 3 or 4 decades, these pieces that we've just been talking about, you realized how singular these works were within this body of work that they made.
The contemporary art market is growing on a global rate immensely. The contemporary art market attracts new buyers at a very, very high rate, both in mid-range objects as in high-value objects. What it tells us is our recipe for the sale was correct, and now the job again will be to convince our consignors to go with conservative estimates. whenever you have a conservative estimate, you actually break boundaries of the market. And that is what we learned from the last sales. The next series of sales are the June sales in London, which have come together extremely beautifully and have very good classic works from the 60s, including a Fine di Dio by Lucio Fontana and a very important painting by Gerhard Richter called Nuba. And also we have been already pursuing very actively consignments for November. And we hope to put an as exciting sale together as we did in May, with a different narrative, but with a quality level that is justified by the great demand.